Terminator 2, a cult classic and a true milestone in the history of cinema, packed with amazing visual and special effects. But wait, I don't really want to make a Terminator 2 video. I wanted to make a lava. Lava, lava, lava. A destructive force of nature and magnificent visual spectacle. I always wanted to make a lava effect, but to be honest, lava has to move, lava has to flow. A standing body of lava is just boring. But it's quite difficult to make a flowing lava. In Volcano, for example, they had to light it from the bottom with black light to basically make it glow without lighting up anything else around it. And honestly, it's a bit too complicated, a little bit beyond me. So I thought to myself, what's the difference between lava and molten steel? I mean, visually, there's none, right? And which movie had the most beautiful tank of molten steel in the history of cinema? Terminator 2, right? And that is what we're gonna try to do today. We're gonna recreate the epic finale of Terminator 2 using miniatures. Now, initial plan was to buy a cheap Terminator 2 knockoff toy, but to my surprise, I couldn't find any. All I could find was those pretty detailed and quite expensive collectible figures, way too expensive for this little project. So I ended up buying this cheap knockoff G.I. Joe toy, I suppose. I don't really know what it is, but the guy's name is Kenji Shinto, so I'm guessing he's Japanese. But with a little makeover, I'm pretty sure he can make for a good Arnold Schwarzenegger stunt double. Mini double. The first order of business is to cut off all those unnecessary parts, trim him up a bit. I mean, look at all those pouches. Was this character designed by Rob Liefeld? I'm gonna try to do that with a hot knife. It should be easy. And yeah, I know this knife was not intended for that purpose, but I believe it's gonna work. Let's see. Oh yeah, look at that. Nice. I think I can even carve a little bit of that fleshy, this is not thigh, calf, a fleshy calf. Not here, not here, like that. Yeah, that went easy. Now for this holster, get rid of this molten plastic. It stings a bit and it's surely giving me cancer at the moment. But yeah, I think I have a nice ventilation in here. We are in my kitchen, by the way. But yeah, I think it's gonna be fine. Off you go. A little bit more. But I don't want to mess the belt buckle, because I like it. But I definitely need to get rid of that collar. I don't like it. And I don't want to mess the guy's face while I do it. So, wish me luck. My camera switched off. And I did most of his face off camera. I hope you'll forgive me that. I messed up this part a bit, just as Ernie had at the very end of the movie. I cut off the ponytail, I messed the hair a bit, and I think I'm gonna mess the other side of the face as well, just for the sake of it. Because why not, right? Oh yeah. I get rid of most of that green stuff. Maybe I can shape the eye socket a little bit more. And I almost forgot the most important part. The hand. The 800 was missing his left palm at the end of the movie, right? So off with the hand. Yep, that was easy. And while we're in the kitchen, I thought I might try and stick some little pieces of a sewing pin inside the remaining stub of the hand, just to give it a bit more detail. I guess it's time to sand him down a bit, get rid of maybe that residue of this green stroke on his cheek. Yeah, that's off. Now maybe this little goatee, or whatever that is, I don't like it. Annie didn't have one. You don't get to have one. And now I'd like to get rid of those ugly details, the residues of my hot knife. So it's probably gonna take some time to smooth out. But I got all the time in the world. So our guy is roughly primed with black paint. I believe it's time to add some details. Yeah, nice. I'm gonna add some blood to the severed hand stump. I hope it's visible. Paint job done. So what do you say, Arnold? Your clothes. Give them to me. Now. No, I'm not giving you my clothes, but yeah, that's a good point. I'm gonna dress you up, boy. So I had this piece of leather from some different project, and I'm kinda worried that it might be too thick. You know, for miniature pants you need miniature leather, and I probably should have buy the tiniest leather there is. But you know, I'm cheap and I already had it. So let's give it a try. I'm gonna make Terminator's famous leather outfit out of a real leather. I'm gonna cut out 4 identical pieces like this. And I think I'll be able to cover this guy in leather. I'm gonna use a glue that is recommended for shoes. Yeah, look at that. Oh no. This glue was obviously a mistake. Let's try super glue, but very selectively. And yes, little lower. Okay. Yeah, super glue might still save it. Okay, tiny drop here. Closer to the belt buckle. Yes. Now on the sides, but far away from the knee. Yeah. I think I wanna glue the crotch part a little bit better. And then here. Oh, this is almost the knee. Be careful around the knee. Be careful around the knee. Okay, still moving. Let's try other leg. I think I'm gonna cut it in half. Right about here. Let's see. The pants look pretty fine. Time for jacket. Yeah, that's gonna be too long. But maybe it's safer to trim it afterwards. Yeah, I think so. So, yeah, let's glue it and then trim it. That seems like a better technique. So again, very strategically. Here. Now that's a one bulky jacket, but don't worry. It's gonna be just fine when I'm done with it. Let the glue dry for a moment. A lot of leather to trim. Let's start with the front. I think it should go straight in the middle. So I'm gonna cut out like 1 millimeter. There you go. Nice, it's starting to look like a leather jacket. Now, let's see what should be done here. Yeah. For some reason I feel like the sleeves might be the most difficult part. I really don't want to mess them up. I'm gonna try and glue those sleeves in the proper pose. Which one to start with? This one seems easier. Hoping that it will just be easier. Look, all the paint came off with the glue. Some of it is actually glued to my fingers now. But no worries. It's gonna be fine. Okay, so if it's all nicely trimmed, yeah, this hand is like really bulky. I mean, both hands are really bulky. But hey, it's Arnie, right? He has bulky arms. One last detail. A tiny zipper. I think it's done. And that's how you make Arnold Schwarzenegger midi double. I have discovered that if I press my finger into the leather like this and then just work it like that for a bit, I can press nicely looking wrinkles into that leather. So last night, as I was watching the movie, I was mindlessly playing with my little T800, not even looking at it, just, feeling where a wrinkle should be and then working my finger on it. And in 2 hours time, I got it to look like this. I don't know if you can see it, but it has a really nice, realistic looking wrinkles. The zipper is really nicely shaped. I mean, I don't know about you, but for me it looks 10 times better. 100 times better. I believe that Kenji Shinto has fully transformed into Arnold Schwarzenegger's look-alike, or Arnie's mini-double, as I like to call him. So I guess I can move on and start building a set. What do you say, Arnie? I'll be back. Yes, you certainly will be back. For the close-up of the hand, doing the OK gesture, I'm gonna use a bigger toy. And you might be wondering, why would I build two miniatures? Does it even make sense to make two minis for one guy? Why won't I build my army out of this guy entirely? And the answer is basically economics. I mean, the bigger the miniature, the more materials you have to use. The more paint, the more leather, the more glue, which in case of this guy wouldn't even be such a big deal. But then imagine how big of a set I would have to build for this guy. How big of a tank I would need to actually drown him completely, comparing to this guy. Hell, how much starch would I need to boil? I mean, you get it, right? So while it may seem counterintuitive, it is actually often much more cost effective to build two or even three minis at different scale for one set or one character, like in this example. Depending on the shot, depending on how close we get to the camera and how much detail we need on the mini. In real movies they often build a few minis for one thing, and that's how I wanted to approach it. Welcome back to my kitchen, and if you are wondering what I'm doing, this is oil, regular edible oil, and I'm planning to use it to heat up this little plastic hand so that it gets soft and I can pose it in the proper OK gesture. I did some tests before. Boiling water turned out too cold, and heating it up over the flame melted the whole thing almost instantly. So I hope this is gonna work. I got my leather gloves on and I think I'm ready to go. Wish me luck. Oh yeah, it's getting soft. Soft. A little bit more. I cannot overheat it because then it's gonna go too soft. Pretty nice at the top, completely messed up at the bottom. No, I'm gonna fix it, no worries. So it didn't go perfect. The oil was probably a bit too hot. The whole hand got a bit misfigured. These two parts misaligned. And there's a huge hole that I don't care about because I'm gonna cover it with a glove anyway. The main point is I have managed to pose the fingers in a proper position, and now I'm gonna fix the details. Yeah, and maybe even carve a little fingernail here. Yes. Time to paint. Now, as you can see, I didn't even prime it. I'm that lazy. I hope it's gonna be alright. I mean, we're barely gonna see this hand from underneath the glove, so... Okay, all the rest will be covered by a glove. For the glove and the jacket sleeve, I'm gonna use the same leather I have used on the smaller guy. And I guess now you understand why I opted for the driver's gloves, not the regular gloves, full gloves. I mean, that's just so much easier to make. Now I don't want to show too much of this watch because it's obviously fake, but I do want to leave just the edge of it, so there's a little bit of detail, because when building miniatures, every little detail makes a miniature looks a little less like a miniature. The more small details you put on your mini, whether it's a spaceship or Terminator's hand, the less it's gonna look like a miniature. Yeah, I think I got it just right. For the tank, I bought this decorative metal bucket. I got it in something that you might call a pound shop or a dollar store. We don't really have a name for that in Poland. Now I decided to go with that because it has a nice metallic texture, so I'm not gonna have to paint it. It's basically ready-made. Now on the other hand, I'm gonna have to cut a hole in the bottom of it, and I don't really have a proper tool, so I don't know, maybe I should have chosen a plastic bucket, but I'm gonna try, so wish me luck. Yes! Okay, I didn't know you can cut steel with a knife, but this knife goes through the steel like butter. Yeah, look at that. Nice. I believe those fake leather straps can go now. And now I got this piece of plexiglass. I bought it online. It was really cheap. Now you may wonder, why is it so thick? The only reason is that the 5 millimeters thickness was the cheapest. I mean, it was cheaper than the 3 or 1 millimeter. Weird, but I bought the cheapest. And 10 by 10 centimeters square was the smallest piece they could sell me. It turned out to be a little bit too big, so I cut the corners off using a hot knife in my kitchen off camera. Not really worth filming. And now I'm gonna try to glue it to the bottom of my bucket. Clean it with some alcohol. And I'm gonna use this transparent silicone glue because I've already used it on a different project and it's really strong. Now I'm gonna try to bend those tiny nails and form a little hooks out of them. Yeah, just like that. And now I'm gonna try and glue those tiny hooks inside the bucket. I'm not sure if you can see them, but they're gonna be very important later on. For the structure from which our Terminator will hang down, I'm gonna use this thing, a straight edge trim, whatever it means. You can check the sizes here. I don't know if it matters. I bought this one, again, just like the bucket, because it's made of metal, so I'm not gonna have to paint it. It's gonna look cool as is. The whole thing was 220 centimeters long, and since I need 7 pieces, I'm gonna cut it into 7 pieces exactly 33 centimeters long. And now I guess I'm gonna play IKEA with those pieces. Wish me luck. Oh. What? Yeah, I think it's gonna be alright, and it looks pretty dang cool. It looks cool as hell, but it's also shaky as hell, and it cannot be like this. So I'm gonna try and stabilize it with some plaster. Now, a few years ago I was trying to grow bonsai trees and nothing came out of that, but I have those tiny little planting pots, and I'm gonna use them as molds for basically like feet that will base the structure, but I want to use them upside down. You know what I mean? Yes. Like that. While I make those concrete bases, I thought to myself, I might as well raise the structure up a bit. So let's mix some plaster with some sand and add some water. And the last step is just to kill it completely with this plaster. Wow. Not cool. Oh goody. More water. It needs more water, definitely. Removing the mold from the freshly cast plaster may be really satisfying. If it turns out right. Come on. Not so good. And yet, it's still shaking. Not as bad as before, but still. I just don't know what to do anymore. I mean, I'm not an engineer. I don't understand the physics behind it. I need to think. And I got it. Look, it's stable as I mean, it's stable as hell. How did I do that? Well, I just took the heaviest tools I had lying around, tied a piece of rope or thread to my structure, then to the tool, then moved them to the sides as much as I could, and here you go, stable as hell. And why I have this jack here, this car jack, don't worry, you don't need a jack to build this effect, but since I have it here, I thought it may serve double purpose. It has this hole that goes all the way through, and it has this part. I don't even know what it is. I mean, I know nothing about cars, but it's long, it's shaped like this, so I'm gonna use it to make a crank. Huh? The only thing that bothers me is this part. I'd like to get rid of it, but I'm not sure it's even worth the hassle. All I need for this crank is to turn around, because this crank will lower our Arnie Mini Double into the tank of starch, I mean molten steel. In order to minimize any possible shake, I also bought two tiny wheels like this, and with a little struggle I've managed to turn them into a tiny reel, which I'm hoping will lead the chain without any obstructions. So I bought this plasma lighter, at least that's how they call it, and it creates this really nice purple spark, and I'm gonna try and dismantle it and use it as the ignition for our Arnie Mini Double. Look at that. Oh, that is weird. I love it. I had headphones a long time ago and they stopped working pretty recently. I've dismantled them already for a different project. But what's important, as I cut off the cable off of them, I've noticed those tiny, very, very thin wires inside, and I think that's exactly what I need for the next step. At the very last minute I decided to glue a tiny piece of grey fabric to his chest. I should have thought about it earlier, but I didn't. That's how it works with special effects sometimes. You gotta look through the camera so you can see all the little details that you've missed. I'm also gonna wash all the shiny parts with black watercolor. And if you ask why watercolor, it's silly. Well, mainly because it's easy to use. It's water solvent, so if I do too much, I can always remove the excess with a wet cloth. So I don't have to be super careful about it. It seems I got everything set up. It's a bit complicated, so bear with me for a second. My Arnie Mini Double hangs from the chain that goes through those two tiny spinning wheels, and here's the counterweight for it. He's also secured by this thin wire that I got from the headphones, and that also has a counterweight over here, so he goes smoothly up and down. Then there's a fishing line coming down from his foot through all those tiny hooks that I glued before, and all the way to my trunk, because this fishing line will pull this guy down. And now the chain, as you can see, is connected to this wire, and this wire also. They both go to my plasma lighter. So as I push this button, there are sparks coming from his foot, and this will ignite him. Now the last thing to do is to pour some starch in. But now when I start to think that I built all of this just to boil some starch, I don't know. Welcome back to my kitchen again. Repainted. How cool is that? As you can see, I'm boiling some water here, which I'm gonna color with this insanely orange juice, orange concentrated juice. And then I'm gonna mix some starch. This is a potato starch, but you can use basically any kind of starch. Mix with cold water and then mixed into the boiling water. Definitely not thick enough. More starch. I ran to a grocery store and got some red raspberry concentrate, hoping to get my lava a little bit more orange. Oh yeah, look at that. That's rich. Yeah. Oh, and there's a small jar hidden behind the bucket in which I'm gonna burn some paper just to create a little smoke for the atmosphere. One last touch will be applying a little chrome spray paint onto the starch to make it look metallic. Okay, maybe too much. Now I'm gonna wait for it to dry, so then when I shake the bucket a little, it should crack. I believe I'm ready to shoot, but I'm really stressed out. I mean, there's so many things that can go wrong, and not even mentioning that there are 2 separate fire hazards on the single set, so wish me luck. Okay, last test of the spark. Okay, now I have to soak him really generously in a Zippo-lighter gasoline. That's safe? I don't think so. Camera rolling. Now, smoke. Okay. Action. What? Almost. Cut! Oh boy, that didn't go too well. I mean, almost nothing worked as expected. But with a little bit of clever editing, I think I've managed to salvage some usable footage. So let's have a look at it. So, what went wrong? Or where do I even start? First of all, the lowering mechanism. It was going so smooth when I was testing it, and then after I poured in the starch, it just went crazy. I don't know why. I have no idea what happened. It's gonna require some further studies, most definitely. Now, what else? The wires. They were supposed to be invisible. I painted them black, but I guess not black enough. I'm gonna have to buy some proper matte black paint. And the fishing line at the bottom, well, all the watercolor got removed by starch during the first two failed attempts. So on the third one, you can clearly see it. I tried to solve it by blurring them out, and yeah, I know that's cheating, but to my defense, I would say that this is something that was most definitely doable back in the 80s or even 1950s. It would definitely require an animator going in frame by frame, scratching this wire off. But I can assure you that a talented animator could actually do a better job on a film stock than I did in After Effects. Now the smoke. This tiny single trail just doesn't cut it. I guess burning a single piece of paper doesn't give enough smoke. So I also fixed that with a little post-production. And again, in my defense, I'd say that superimposing a stock footage of smoke on a static camera shot like this one was surely doable with optical printer. So again, it could have been done on an 80s movie. It is cheating, but it's not like it's CGI, okay? What's next? Oh yeah, the ignition system. For some reason, I was expecting the fire to just go like that instantly, you know, and in reality, it took a while for this tiny mini double to catch a fire. Maybe if I glued a piece of fabric soaked with gasoline properly, it would work like a fuse. I didn't think of it. We'll never know. Now, I would really like to have a second attempt at it, but Arnie's face burned off completely on the first attempt, so I guess that's it. Funny thing, the hand doesn't seem burned at all. I believe it's because of the t-shirt. There's a piece of fabric that was soaked in gasoline, and I think that's what produced the biggest flame, basically, and that's what melted his face off. What else? Oh yeah, the starch. I don't know what happened here. It seemed so thin, almost water-like when it was boiling, and then as it cooled down, it turned almost into a jelly. I mean, it was way too thick, and it shows. I'm not happy about that too. One thing that did work is the general look and the texture of the molten steel, as long as it didn't move. I mean, just look at it. The texture, the glow, the cracked pieces of solid metal on top of the liquid metal. I obviously learned a lot. I hope it will help me make better effects in the future. Most important thing I've learned is the existence of those amazing plasma lighters. I mean, look at it one more time. I love it, and I'm sure I'm gonna be using it for other effects. So if you keep watching this channel, you will see more of that stuff. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. If you would like to see me failing at special effect some more, hit that subscribe button. And of course, I'll be back.